Alright, so again, my name is Sean, and tonight we're just going to be going over some TRW fonts and just really how to use our font tab in the design wizard. And then lastly, we're going to go over, again, how to use all the different types of fonts, whether it be a two-color or rhinestone. We're even going to go over our new super fonts, the super monogram fonts that you've been seeing Matt do on the lives. We'll go a little bit over that in case you guys have any questions on how to work those. And then at the end, we'll kind of show you how to even design with our fonts too, just to make quick, simple designs based off the fonts you purchase. Hey, Ann from Texas. All right. So just to kind of get a feel for everything, I'm sure everyone's used some of our fonts before. Has everyone used mostly our Vector at Rhinestone? Has anyone used our two-color or even possibly the new Monogram fonts that we put out? All right, so, okay, yeah, I didn't mention the monograms either. But yeah, Terry, we're going to go over those too. But yeah, we have the monograms as well. So looks like it's mostly vectors or monograms. So we'll definitely cover some of those rhinestones as well, just so you can see how those work. And we'll even show you kind of how to, the rhinestone fonts can be a little bit tricky because unlike the vector fonts, you can't resize them to fit, any design. So I'll show you kind of how to, if you're looking at them on the site, how to pay attention to the height and width, and that will help you, create your designs or let you know if you're able to create a certain font in the size of the shirt you need it. All right. Hey, Rhonda, how are we doing tonight? All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to be going over is our font tab. So on our design wizard, at the top left, you'll see kind of this double arrow. So if you left click that, it's actually going to open up your font tab. Now, I had TRW typed in here, but if I delete that out, you'll actually see all the fonts you have on here as well. So it's not just in this little area, it's not just TRW fonts or anything like that. Any font you have programmed or installed into your computer is going to show up in this font window. Now, I like using this a little bit better than sometimes up top. You'll see you have your arrow up here with the point size. If I know the name of the font I'm going to use, especially if it's a TRW font, I can always type in TRW and it's going to list all my TRW fonts now. So it's just a little easier to kind of filter through. But again, you can always use up here too and search your fonts that way as well. But we'll kind of show you how to use the find fonts here. But anything TRW related will always start with the TRW. So all you have to do is type that in, and then you'll see all the different fonts you have installed that you either purchased or got from us in this area now. So when we click on any certain font, so we'll go ahead and do this TRW6, any rhinestone font will have most likely will have two different styles. So someone had a question, is there any way to search fonts by style like cursive, script, that kind of? So in Corel you can do that. So here it's going to be based off the name. So where you have the find font, when I hit TRW, it's going to list all the TRW fonts. Now if you go up top here where it says Arial and you're working from the Corel draw, you can see different types of fonts over here on your right. So light, regular, bold. You can go by style. So this is kind of what you're saying here, cursive, sans serif, script, symbol. That way you can, if I wanted a script font, I can select that. And now in this window, it's going to be all my different types of script fonts. So yeah, that's a great way to search by a certain style. But if you're searching by name or trying to get to most of our TRW fonts, it's probably going to be a little bit easier just to search that through the find font. But if it's more of like a style, like a vector that you might already have installed, yeah, the Corel search will work really well for that. And up top, you'll see this clear filter. So when you're done, you can just click clear. All right, so we have some questions about the super fonts too, some of the monograms. So when we get to that, I'll definitely cover that. So I'll go over that, Joseph, don't worry. But they were just asking how, there's two parts of that with the vinyl and rhinestones. They're asking how to add the vinyl to that. So that's one of the things we'll definitely cover here shortly. So with our fonts, you'll notice that most of the rhinestone fonts, as long as it's not like a script style font, will have two different versions. So there's going to be an RF and an SF. And you'll most likely want to install both of them. But to type out in a regular, so there's no, the SF stands for sticky flock. We used to have, before the magic flock material, we had a different material called sticky flock. So that's where the SF comes from. That means it's kind of to let you know that this is going to be set up for a magic flock cut. So instead of just typing out a certain word like basketball or Seminoles, we're going to type the entire alphabet in the SF and then cut it individual letters so we can then go ahead and use them to spell out a lot of different names or sports and stuff like that. So I'll show you the kind of two different styles you'll see. So here's our SF version, and here's our RF. So the SF will have the boxes already behind it. In each one of these, if I go to my wireframe, you can see each one of these has their own box. So with this style up top, we'd actually want to type out the entire alphabet and so on. That way, we can rearrange these. Once we cut these out, we can rearrange these letters to spell out Seminoles if we wanted, or baseball, or mom of, and then put the son's name or anything like that. That's what we're going to use the SF version for. The RF is more for if we just want kind of the text Seminoles. And the way I like to look at it is, if I know Seminoles is going to be my main part of the design, I'm going to type this out in an RF version and create a template just for the word Seminoles. And then what I could do is maybe find like a smaller font, my TRW 130, and you'll see if I type in uppercase. So now let's say I do mom of, and we'll actually do that in lowercase. So what I could do in this situation is make both of these. Let's go. It'll look different once we size it out. So essentially I could set up my design like this. And let's go ahead and resize both of those. And we'll go over resizing in a minute. So with this type of design, I could always do, we could put it maybe in the middle or off to the side here a little bit. So we didn't someone's asked, I thought you couldn't resize Rhinestone. So this was the size that it's going to come in. So what I did is we went to the SS10s, and I'll go back through that shortly. This is more to show you when to use the RF and when to use the SF. So I'll show you how to resize shortly. But for this version, what we could do is the Seminoles and mom of, we would make this one template. So once I had this created, I would go to my templates tab, do my TRW magic separator, and now it would create a template with my Seminoles and mom of right underneath it. So every time I could brush this in, and then what I could do is cut out all my individual letters. So then I can write mom of Sean, mom of Matt, mom of Gabe, anything that's going to be changed, I want to have as rearrangeable letters, or these SF versions. That way I can always go back and edit this to say whatever I want. But I know it's always going to be, the school we're going to go after is the Seminoles and the mom of. And actually I could leave out the mom of too, because then I could always change the letters to mom of, aunt of, grandma of, dad of, And that way we'll do it in the SF version, so that way we can always change out those letters. Does that make sense with the rhinestones? And kind of when to use the RF and when to use the SF? Okay. Alright, so now with our fonts too, right above the Find Font area, you'll see the font preview. And this is where you really want to pay attention to the font preview that you'll see in here. So this font, this Seminoles font that we used up here, that's going to be our TRW6 RF. So when I click on this font, you'll notice in the font preview, it doesn't have, what it usually will say is upper and lower. So you can see that part of the lower text is in this font preview. So this is the word lower right here. It's just cut off. Now usually you should see upper and lower like you see in this font preview here. Now what this is telling us is that if I type in uppercase, I won't be able to see my Rhinestone font. We have to type in lowercase in order to see this font. So this is what this font preview kind of is letting us know, that when you only see the font in lowercase, that means that you can only type this font in a lowercase fashion. Even though the font is actually all uppercase, we have to type in lowercase. So it's a little confusing, but if we just pay attention to the font preview, whatever it shows in that preview, and copy it, that's how we'll know, or that's how we'll realize what case we have to type in. So on this example here, we'll just write out TRW. So you can see that I'm in all uppercase. So if I click on my TRW SRF, you see how it just kind of disappears? You can see that there's something going on here because I have these little boxes underneath my text still, but physically you don't see anything there. And if I go to my wireframe, still you don't really see anything there except those boxes. Now our text is still there, so if I kind of click off and I highlight this area, it knows that something's still there. So the minute I switch this, so let's go back, and I'm going to retype in lowercase and click the same font, and now it shows up fine. So if you're trying to use a Rhinestone font and all of a sudden, what happens a lot is, let's say we have the word Seminoles, you'll type uppercase S and then the rest of the design in lowercase. So part of your design is there, but the S isn't. So if you see something like that when you're using a Rhinestone font, it just most likely means that you have to type all in one case. So it's, in this particular font, it's lowercase. So if I just switch that to lowercase, now you'll see that we have the S in there as well. Now, different fonts will have different previews. So another example of that is our TRW7 Athletic 2 color. And actually, we're going to use the RF version. I have that up top here. So when I type in my Athletic font, you'll see that the upper, you can kind of see that this is the P and the ER from the word upper, and then my lower starts here. So in the lowercase, it shows the outline of my text. When it's in an uppercase fashion, it will just show the inside fill. So if I switch this to uppercase, you'll see that it shows me the fill. If I switch this to lowercase, it's going to give me the outside. So this text, you can use it in a couple different ways. You can use it as a one-color outline. You can use it as a one-color bold font like here, or how it was intended as a two-color font. So it has an inside and outside fill. And yes, we'll go over that whole upper, lowercase, all these buttons at the top next. But that's how you're going to use these different fonts. So whatever the upper kind of lets you know, this is all an entire uppercase font. But when we type in uppercase, it's letting us know that it's going to be the fill. And when we type in lowercase, it will be the outside color. All right, so any questions on the font preview? So each one will be different. Yeah, Mary, we'll go over that next. She just asked, where do we change the upper and lowercase? So sometimes, like this zebra font here, you'll see the lowercase has one color of the zebra and the uppercase has a second color. This one is exactly how you would think it. When you typed uppercase, you get an uppercase letter. When you type lowercase, you get a lowercase letter. So there will be ones that make complete sense. There's going to be ones that are a little bit confusing, and that we'll have to kind of pay attention more to the font preview. And then there's some old ones too, like the TRW 130 we did, where the SF version is actually uppercase, and the lowercase is just the RF version, but it's all uppercase. All right, so this font preview is very important when we're working with it's more important with our Rhinestone fonts, but it will be important too with some of the vectors, some of the two-color vector fonts. All right, so any questions on the SF versus the upper versus lowercase font preview? All right, so next we kind of have at the top here a lot of these different buttons, and someone was just asking, how do you kind of switch from lowercase to uppercase? So a quick switch using just the font preview is the U will be uppercase. So if I hit the U, you'll see how it switches to my uppercase, which is the inside fill on this font. And right next to it it looks like an L, but it's actually, or it looks like an I, it's actually lowercase L. So it's just showing you that's the lowercase. So when I do that, you can see it switch. The T is for title case, so it's just going to capitalize that first letter. On this font, it looks a little bit weird because the fill is the inside. So if I went to that script font, you would see that the S is the only letter that's capitalized now. Does the TRW wizard work with the Silhouette software? No, Sandra. Our software is only compatible for Corel Draw X6 or higher, and it needs to be the full graphics suite. So next to the title case, we have the letter 2. So we have a lot of different, so someone asked too, what is the E key? The E is for edit. So if I select this font and I click the E, it will open up this edit text box for me, and I can just simply rewrite my text. So if I'm going to a completely different word, maybe I'm going to pirates now, I can retype it, and I can actually switch to a different font if I wanted to in this window as well, and it will give me my new result. No, Terry, the student edition isn't 100% compatible with it. There's features that aren't there that you'll need for the software. So it will need to be the full graphic, or the full, I think it's called the full graphic suite. Yes, yeah, Dax, the title case means the first letter of each word will be capitalized. So if I had pirates, let's say I had Pirates Rock, if I hit the T, see how it makes both letters, or each word, the first letter will make capitalized. So it doesn't matter if, you know, you have a whole sentence written out, the title case will make the first letter of each word capitalized. All right. So next to the T, we have the 2. So we have a lot of two-color fonts. You'll notice right here that TRW7 is actually a two-color font. And let's go ahead, we'll just do Pirates. And a lot of our vector fonts, so let's go ahead and use one of those, are two colors as well. So we released these kind of KO designs a little bit ago, all these new fonts. So when you type in lowercase, you'll notice that you get the outside and the player in the middle, and then the upper would be the fill for everything else. So Sandra asks, does the software come in a bundle? I'm starting from scratch. Yeah, so we have some bundles. I'll show you towards the end. We're going to go over some fonts on our website. So when I go through that, I'll show you where you can find the bundle for the software as well. So with any two-color font, and you'll pretty much recognize again in the font preview that this is the inside fill and this is the outside, so it's going to be a two-color font. And they will, when you purchase it, it will let you know that it's a two-color font as well. So when we use these two-color fonts, once we type this out, it doesn't matter if I start this as an upper or lowercase font. So if I type all in uppercase or if I type all in lowercase, it doesn't matter. All I have to do is select that font, hit the 2, and it's going to automatically fill the area that wasn't there. It's always going to be this orange, but don't worry, I can just select that fill now and change it to whatever color I want. Yeah, so may I ask, does Athletic font work with Corel too? It should. I'm not sure. Are you talking about the TRW Athletic fonts or just Athletic fonts in general? They should, if it's just the Athletic font in general, they should work fine. But we have some TRW Athletic fonts too that they are two-color. You would hit the 2 for them as well. And those work fine with this as well. So whatever you have, the 2 would just fill the opposite. So if you have, yeah, okay, gotcha. So if you didn't have, let's say you didn't have the software. If I still wanted to use these two-color fonts, you're perfectly able to. So if you have the Silhouette, just Corel, anything like that, you can still use any of our fonts, except the monograms, unless they're the newer version, won't work correctly. But all of our Rhinestone fonts will have a point size to go off of, and our vector fonts will work the same way, except you won't obviously have like a 2 in all these other softwares, just a click. So what we would do instead is I type this in all lowercase. So once I finish that, I just do a copy, so Control-C, and then Control-V. So that's a paste, and it pastes it right on top of my original text field. So it's hard to tell, but there's 2 different text fields here. If I wanted to, I could make one blue, just so when I start typing, you can see the difference. So I'm going to select this top text field. Now, since I typed this all lowercase, I'm going to put my caps lock on and retype this in all uppercase. So as I do that, you'll see how it fits into that area perfectly to give you that two-color font. So if you don't have, obviously it's going to be a lot easier to use the software. Once I type it, I just hit the 2 and I'm done. But if not, I just do the copy-paste and retype in the alternate case that I used, and then you'll still get that perfect two-color look, and it's going to line up perfect every time. All right, so any questions on the 2, on when to use it or how to use it, even if we don't have, the software? All right, so the next one is just the V. That's going to be for vertical. So what that's going to do is just take any font you have and make it go vertical. So it's just going to set it up just like that, just going straight down. If you click it again, it'll just bring it right back to that horizontal pattern or look. So again, the V will make it drop to a vertical pattern. You can still add the 2. Everything's going to work the same way. Now, if you do this, some fonts you'll see, like let's maybe try like a basic Arial font. You'll see that when you do it this way, look how spaced out those letters are now. So if you want to fix that, just go to your Edit tab, go to your text spacing area. You're going to hit the TS, and you'll see these little kind of, not arrows, but you'll have one going to the right and one going down. The one going down controls up and down. The one going kind of aim to the right will control, if it was in a horizontal look, it would space the letters out. So we're going to use the one that's pointing down, and if I click on it, I can just raise that up or down, and it will separate the letters. So I can just kind of bring that all closer together, and now my font looks a little bit better when it's closer together like that. So this one to the right, it's not going to do anything because it's only it won't go right now. But if I switch it back to the horizontal and control the same thing, why doesn't it give it to us? Oh, there it is. Now I control it going left and right, but going up and down, it wouldn't do anything. All right. So usually when you hit that vertical text, you'll need to hit that text spacing tool and just kind of bring it up just a little bit to make it look more natural. All right. So the last tool we have up top here, or one of the last ones we have, is the B, and that's for breaking apart. So Veronica, this might actually be the tool that you're looking for. The B is, she asked, I thought there was a way to move each letter around. So the B kind of will break that apart for you. So if I highlight both text fields, because again, this is 2 right now. If I highlight both of these and hit the B, it will break apart my individual letters. So now the P I can control, and I can make the P maybe really big. And then the S. And we've done a webinar kind of creating certain designs like this. But that's how I could, just create an entirely new look once I break these letters apart. So there is, someone was asking if there's a way, no, once you're done kind of setting this up, you'd probably just weld it together or merge it all. It's pretty much set up at that point, so I would just probably weld all the blue together and then weld all my black, and then I would just send it right to the cutter. Now using that text spacing feature, I think this is what someone was referring to too, without breaking apart your design, if you wanted to move around these letters, you could hit the TS and you would see all these boxes underneath your design. That controls individual letters. So if I wanted to move this down here, move my A up, my T down a bit, my E, and then my S like that, I could get a totally unique design throwing it up that way. Okay, so yeah, there's that way too. That's with the text spacing. You just click your font, click the TS. You'll see all those dots or the squares underneath each letter. Each one controls each letter. So you could set up, different looking styles however you wanted or however your customer wanted. You could do different looks like that too. And it's still going to work with the 2. It would still fill that in just the same. All right, so the last letter is going to be the M, and that's going to be for Monogram Fonts. So this is one feature that you're not going to be able to use if you don't have the design wizard. So I'll just write out our TRW, and I'll go up here in TRW, and I'll type in mono. So these ones are going to work differently from the Super Monogram pack that came out earlier this week, and some of those new ones that allow you to use on any software. These don't work the same. These are an older style like the Monogram ones. These are specially made for the software to shape. So the other ones, the newer Monogram fonts, are pretty much already going to come shaped. This one, all you have to do is select the one you want to use. So let's say we want our baseball 1. So when I type out TRW, you can see the baseball pattern going through this. However, it doesn't look like a nice monogram at all. The lines don't really match up. We have the laces ending here and then starting again back up here, ending down here and starting again up top. So none of the laces really match up. So all we have to do is click the M, that's going to turn it into my baseball shape. And let me go ahead and make a couple copies of this just so you can see the different styles. So this one's going to be our baseball. I just hit the M. Now all my lines match up nicely. It's in the shape of a baseball. So we have our football. So again, this one doesn't look as bad to start off with. At least the laces are kind of all together. But when I hit the M, it shapes it like a football. It changes my letters, and it still has the nice stitching going through the letters. All right. So soccer, same thing. Doesn't really line up too well. Once I hit the M, everything lines up really nicely, and we have our monogram. All right. So whether it be just a different shape, doesn't matter. It's still going to work nicely using that monogram in the M. So that's how we can easily shape these monograms using the M feature. And now again, these are the kind of older monogram styles. So if you see the ones that are set up for any type of program, that's not going to work the same as just clicking the M. But the older ones that are just for, yes, the M is for monogram. So any of the older ones that were set up in this style, you can definitely use. So any of the shapes, the footballs, the baseballs, stuff like that. Just make sure it doesn't say for all software. This isn't included. The features are included. The actual fonts aren't. So if you want any of the fonts, you can purchase from the site. We have artwork packs with a lot of them in it, or you can buy them individually. So yeah, there is a heart one where you don't have to do the left and the right and all that stuff. So this font here, just hit the M, and then you have your heart shaped here. But the thing is, if you already have it in one style, you don't need to purchase it in the other. So someone asked does it work on the heart with the M? So if you already have the M or the heart style that you just type the individual letters like the T lowercase, the R uppercase, you don't need to buy both fonts. You would just, the other one they're each set up in certain ways. So we're going to go over how to set up the other monogram shortly. So if, like I said, if you already purchased one style of the heart, don't buy the other one because you already have it. It's just going to be set up in a different way. All right, so any questions on any of the features we covered so far? The font, the find font, the font preview, any of our buttons up top here. The T, again, means title case. And the E is for edit. So that's going to allow us, like if we have the E again, if you have TRW just in any font, if you hit the E, it'll open up this edit text box. And it gives you just all the options right there. Like if you want to switch your font, the point size, any options you can still have in that edit text box. So let's go over a couple more Rhinestone features, kind of going over the resizing of Rhinestone features, our Rhinestone fonts, and how to, if you are looking to purchase, how to kind of find those on our site and what to look for. So let's just go ahead and write out so someone asked, will you add 2 for the monogram to be complete? No. So that's not like a 2-color font. So if I hit the 2, it's not, see how it just gives me an error? It's not going to do anything. If I wanted like a second color for this font, I'd pretty much just like draw a circle behind it to get that 2-color look. Or I could do a contour. If I added a contour, I could add like a background around it that way too. So contour would probably be your best bet to get like a 2-color design or 2-color look. So I'm just making that contour pretty big, and that way it's filling in that whole lace area, something like that, and then I could go back and smooth all that out. Alright, so let's go ahead and so I'm going to write out the same text 3 different times, and we'll use 3 different style of fonts. Someone asked, but the stripes would be the color of shirt. Yeah, if I didn't do that 2-color look, the stripes, the inside of the stripes would be my shirt color. Yeah. They were just asking if you wanted 2 colors for it. You would have to kind of add a contour. And that was just me adding a contour to kind of fill all that up. But yeah, if you left it the 1 color, your shirt would be the second. All right, so we'll go ahead and just choose a couple different style fonts. And down here you'll see too, remove from faves, add to faves. So up here, if I'm using a font that I like a lot, I just click on that font, hit add to faves, and then you'll see it added here, so I don't have to always search that. Because the Rhinestone fonts are just numbers. It doesn't have like a TRW Impact, TRW College. It's not set up that way. So you might forget what font you used earlier. So if you like it and you're using it a lot right in that time, if you're creating the same text or names with the same, and you want to use that same font, just click add to faves. When you're done, you can just select that font again and hit remove. So we'll set this USA font. And we're just going to pick a couple different style fonts. Okay. So what I meant earlier about not being able to resize fonts is the fact that once you type out your font, up top here, you'll have your stone size. So most likely we're going to work with SS10s. If we need something a little bit smaller, we'll go to 6s. And maybe occasionally we might use 16s, but 10s are the most common stones that you'll see people working with. So that's what it's most likely going to default to right here. So once we type out our text in a Rhinestone font, all we have to do is click our resize button right underneath our. And if we want to switch the font or the stone we want to use, we just drop down, we click the drop down, click the drop down and select the font or the Rhinestone size you want to use. Again, we're going to use SS10. So once I have that all figured out, I'm just going to click this resize button right underneath, and it's going to resize my font into an SS10 size stone. So now all of these stones are SS10. So when I click on them, up top here, you'll see 0.13 by 0.13 or 0.135 by 0.135. So again, up top here, you'll see SS10 equals 0.135. So all of our stones are going to be perfectly sized at that font. But with this font, we're at 1.7 inches wide by not even an inch tall. So if I like this style of font, once I hit this SS10 button, I can't select it, and let's say my t-shirt's 9 inches, I can't make this a 9-inch design, because now when I click this circle, each one of them is 0.694, and that's just not an actual stone size. It's not going to, if we try to use SS10s in there now, our SS10 stone would pretty much brush into this circle looking something like that. So you can see that this is an actual SS10 stone, and this is our circle size now. So someone asked, so if you want your design to be bigger, you can add stones in it to make it bigger. Yeah, so if I had this design right now, and I hit the resize the SS10s, let's see. Not sure my resize button's not working with this font. But yeah, if I size this to all SS10 stones now, it would look something like this. And I would have to go through and kind of add a row to this side, a row to this side, and then slowly try to start kind of filling in the area of this design. And there's a couple ways to go about it, but it wouldn't be fun to try to trace a U all the way around. So this button right here will resize it. So that's the difference in, let's see if it'll work with this font here once I switch it to SS10. So once I hit the resize button, I hit yes. And now if I try to resize it, okay, so that's what it should have done. So this one here is called the replace all stones. So what it does is it doesn't resize your design. So if I resize my design really small and I know I want it in 10s, I just click this button and it resizes it to 10s. Now if I do the same thing, make it really big and click the replace all with 10s, instead of actually sizing it to, you know, to the 10s like this, all it does is takes every stone and makes it an SS10 stone. So now you can see the gap between each one is a little bit bigger. So this is what someone was saying, you could just kind of redo the design once you have it set up. Yeah, you could, because on this one it would be a little bit easier since it's a lot of straight lines. I could use my fill between two. So I could select this stone, hold shift, select this stone here, click fill between two, and then it's going to make those lines a lot nicer. But again, there's a lot of work that goes into this. So we really want to kind of pay attention to our fonts on the website and how they're going to be sized to get us an example of, maybe can I use this font when I'm working with this, or can I use the font with the design I'm going to work on? So again, let's delete this and kind of show you what I mean by that. So we have our three fonts. Let's go ahead and resize this one. And I blew these really big. So now we have our three fonts and they're all sized out, except this one. I don't know what's going on with this one here. It just doesn't want to resize. Okay, so those are pretty close right there. So all these are in our SS10 size stones now. So if I'm working with the design and let's say I have around 9 inches to work with, or maybe I want this for a pocket. So let's say I have 3.5 to 4 inches to work with width-wise. Well, my bottom font is going to be 1.7 inches wide. So it would fit in that area, but it's still going to be really small and a little bit harder to see. My second font is 11 inches wide, over 11 inches wide, so there's no way that's going to fit on a pocket tee. And then my last one is just over 3 inches wide, so that one will work pretty well for that kind of pocket tee area. So first thing we have to figure out is kind of the width that we have for the shirt we're going to be adding our design to. So that's going to determine what kind of fonts we can use in that area. So then what we can do is come to our site, and let's say we're looking at a different style of font. So let's say I have about 12 inches to work with. Well, that kind of gives me a different variety of fonts I can use. What you see here is the different heights. So where it says 1 to 1.5, that's inches tall. So 1.6 to 2 inches tall, those are all going to be the fonts that are in that range. So and you'll kind of start understanding a little bit more of like, okay, if I have a 5-inch area, I'm probably going to have to use a font that isn't as tall as, say, our USA font, because our USA font is almost 5 inches tall. That's most likely not going to, you know, if my letter's 5 inches tall, the width is going to be pretty wide as well. So if I'm looking for a smaller font, or if I'm looking for something, you know, 5 inches, I'm going to go something probably a little bit smaller in that 1 inch, under 1 inch range, or maybe I can get up to the 1 to 1.5 inch. Where if I can go all the way to 12 inches, well, now I can check out maybe all these different areas. The above 3 might be a little bit pushing it, but I can kind of go through all these different sizes. So we'll start in the 1.6 to 2 inch area. And you'll see all these different style fonts that we have. So some will be 2 colors, some will be 1. So let's go ahead and use our example here, our TRW 5383. So when I click on this font, you'll see on the side, or first of all, the preview that it gives you is everything you're going to get in this font. So there's no lowercase letters in this font. So this font doesn't come in a lowercase setup. It's all uppercase. So some fonts might not have numbers. Some fonts might have upper, lower, and number and symbols. Some might just have some letters and symbols. So pay attention to the actual kind of preview you see here. So if there's more down here, it might show you like upper, lowercase, and the symbols. That if it has multiple pictures, it has everything in those pictures. If it just has here all uppercase and 0 through 9, that's all that's coming with this font. So don't, that's one thing that we'll see a lot of starting out with is people will think kind of every font has an upper and lowercase, and that's just not how these are set up. So just if you're looking to purchase any fonts, just pay attention to, 1, what's in this preview screen, letter-wise and number-wise. That's what everything you're going to get with the font. And then the second thing, it might be a little bit even more important. A great question. So someone asked, what size is that font? So these are all the fonts, unless they're like a 2-color or 2-size font, they will be set up in SS10s. So everything you see in these previews are set up as an SS10 font. That's a great question. So down here, this is the part we really want to pay attention to. One is the height, because sometimes we do have to worry about the height too. And then the most important is the width. So what we have here is 10 inches. So what this is saying is the text New York sized out in SS10s is about 10 inches wide in this font style. So if I had the word baseball and I want to know if it's going to fit on a 12-inch shirt, or I have 12 inches to work with and I need the word baseball, well, it's probably going to fit okay because this is 8 or 7 characters with the space in between it, and it's only 10 inches. So the word baseball should work fine. Now, if I had basketball, now we're cutting it a little bit close because that's going to throw in a couple extra characters, and it's going to really put it close to that 12-inch mark. So that's kind of what we want to look for if we're searching for fonts is the design I'm setting up going to work in this style and size font. So we'll go back. So again, we're still in the 1.6 to 2-inch font. Now let's go to our text here. So that's about the same size, but so what it's telling us here is this when you spell out this font in 4 characters, it's about 6.5 inches wide. So now if we get the word baseball, now we're looking about 13 inches if I just double it, because baseball has 8 characters, Reno has 4. So I double, Reno twice, and now I'm at 13 inches, and I only had 12 to work with. So baseball won't work in this font with the kind of setup that I'm going for. So does that make sense on how to kind of search for fonts and how to, thinking about more of the setup first and then finding the font that's going to fit the best? Now, the one way we can resize a design, yeah, so someone asked, couldn't you use a vector font, convert it to curves, and then fill it with rhinestones? Yes, of course you can. But, one, just saying that whole sentence took a little bit more time than me typing out a font and just resizing it with an arty font we have created. And then 2 is, once I do that once, so let's say I have the word, let's just stick with USA. So I find the font that I want in the style. So let's say I like this font. I set it up. Okay, I need this to go about 8 inches wide. I set this up to 8 inches. Perfect. It's 3 inches tall. That's okay. Once I fill this in with rhinestones, it doesn't become a font. so I'll spend maybe 20 to 30 minutes setting this up to look really nice, but now I can only use it for USA design. I can't, or I can rearrange these 3 letters to spell different words, but essentially I only have the U, the S, and the A to work with, and it's not going to be a font. It's not going to be a font style, so I can't save those, and every time I want this style, type USA again, and it's going to pop up. So that's where, creating your own designs, that's perfectly fine, but it's not going to be like, once you have it set up once, it's pretty much done. So if I want to use that same style or anything like that, or maybe resize it, I'll have to start from scratch again. So yeah, great question, or great question or input, but yeah, it's just a little bit more time consuming that way, and it's not to place and fill a font. It can get a little bit tricky depending on how the font's set up and how like this one here, just the edges around it and stuff like that. It's going to require a little bit of extra work. And then once you put all that work into it, you're just stuck with those 3 letters. So someone was saying, yeah, the video will always be up for, will always be recorded. Someone was saying they're having trouble with me, with the mic. Is anyone else having the audio kind of fade in and out? Okay. We'll move it around a little bit, and all right. So it is cutting out a bit on everyone, it sounds like. So I had a question. What do the different numbers in the font's name mean? The font numbers mean nothing. So in here you'll have like TRW6, TRW7. When they were first created, it was literally just like a number system. And then it got to the point where we had multiple designers. So it's just like, okay, well, I'll take these random numbers 1,000 through 2,000 and just pick random numbers. So if we could probably start all over again, we would name them. So it's a little bit easier to kind of track. But yeah, right now those numbers don't essentially mean anything. So where it says TRW6, that's just the name of the font. And then someone else asked, can you adjust the letters or the spacing between the letters Rhinestone fonts? Yeah, you can. So if we had TRW and I go to this 12 rounded, let's go to SF and make that upper. Same thing with our text spacing here. I just click on that and I can pull these out or make them closer. Now if I do this, just know you're going to have overlapping stones, so you'll have to go back and clean that up. But if I wanted a little bit more space, or some of the letters you might see like this W, I can maybe bring this a little bit closer to the R and, adjust, or if I needed just a little bit to save a little bit room to make the design fit on a t-shirt, you can move those letters in a little bit closer, because you'll see the spacing, like look at the spacing between the USA compared to maybe this USA. This looks a little bit closer, where if our design here is 11.6, I needed to get to 11.5 to make this design fit. I could definitely I can do it after and just move it like this, or I could have done the text spacing tool before I resized it and scooted everything in a little bit closer too, and now my design is 10.85. Now, the other way to resize a Rhinestone font to possibly get it a little bit smaller or bigger is to switch the stone size. So in our USA design right here, if I wanted this a little bit smaller, let's say I only had 9 inches to work with, or 9.5. Well, if I switch to the 6s, now my design went all the way actually to under 8 inches wide. But that is using SS6 stones now. So that's the only way you'll be able to resize your Rhinestone fonts without like redoing the entire, like we said earlier, resizing it this way, or, going back and adding stones. This will just take it from 6s, and I can go all the way to 16, so now my design is almost 14 inches tall. So using different stone sizes is the only way you're really going to be able to alter the size of your Rhinestone fonts. All right, so let's go ahead and go over quickly our Monogram super fonts that we released earlier this week. So we have a couple, we have like a 1, or a 2, a 3, and a 4 letter. So someone asked, will you use more stones by making it SS6s? No. So by switching, that's a great question. So let me go back to that real quick. So where are my designs? So when I have my design here, this is in 10s. You'll see I have 419 objects selected. All it does when you switch this to a different stone size is it keeps the proportionate, like right here you'll see 10.85 by 4.9. It keeps the proportion of your design in all your stones, but they just make it smaller in SS6s. So when you do this, you'll see I still have 419 stones in my design. It's just each one of these are now smaller, but it keeps like the same spacing and proportions to everything. It just literally makes the circle size smaller. Yeah. So someone asked, you can type the word you want and highlight different Rhinestone fonts to see what you like. Yeah, kind of like we did with this USA. You know, if I already have some fonts in here, I'll click a couple different styles, size them out, see how they line up and everything like that, and see which works the best. All right. So now we'll go on to our new super Monogram fonts. So here you'll see them in our font preview, our fine font. We are going to make some updates to this where it's going to be a little bit more user-friendly with using it through here on the fine fonts. Right now it works a little bit better actually using it through Corel. So it looks like, so let's do a 1 or 2. Set up a couple. And we'll change all that around. All right, so with this style, and trust me, it's hard to remember exactly, is it uppercase or lowercase and uppercase? Don't worry too much about that. So right here, you'll see this TRW Super Mono 2L. So that's going to be our two letter. So we have a 2L, a 3L, and a 4L. And then you'll see next to it either has an S or a V. So the S is for stones, the V is for vinyl. So on this design here, you'll see that I messed that up. So my upper goes one way and my lowercase goes the other. So I'll just switch those around. And now my SM fits in there perfectly. So same way, I can do a copy, Control-C, Control-V. So then I have 2 layers right on top. So once I have my second layer, now I go to the Super Mono V for the vector 2 letter. Click that. It gives me my nice S and M. Move that to the back. Switch up the color. And you'll see how it perfectly lines up. And then we just hit our resize. Yes. And now I have my vinyl set up. So to switch that around, we have our vinyl on top. I'll go ahead and change the color to that. To move it to the back, you just click that B right here, and I'll move it to the back of our page. All right. So with the 3-letter, you'll start with the 3-letter left. We'll make those ones just set up just like that. So we're going to go, on this one it's a little bit different of a setup. We're going to go lowercase, uppercase, and then we can go lowercase again. Now our last one here is going to be the opposite direction. So someone asked, can you press rhinestones on top of vinyl? Yes. Yes, you can, in the fact that if it's going to be a decal. So Kathleen, we've been doing some new rhinestone decals with like a glitter vinyl behind it, and it looks really, really nice. If you check out some of our Facebook videos, we have some previous ones that have been up there, the lives, the Facebook lives. We've done a lot of those recently with these on there. But yeah, we are doing it with the Bling Anything material behind it, and that way you can press the stones right onto the glitter vinyl, and it really, really pops. Someone asked, can you do a knockout with the rhinestones on the vinyl? You could. I wouldn't recommend it if you're like trying to brush the rhinestones in, like have them sit under or like around the vinyl. It usually just doesn't work well like that. It's very, very hard to line up and get right. But technically you could. All right. So with our third one here, or with our 3 color, this one here, we're going to highlight our right side, so our right S. I'm going to come up to our font, so our TRW Super Mono. You'll see how it comes out to the right here. Now I'm going to find the 3, but I'm going to find the 3L right, and I want the stones. So the S, 3L right. When I click that, you'll see how it switches my S back to that way. Just set up perfectly just like that. All right, so this is where the super font can get a little bit confusing, so I'll go over that again. So we have our SM, and we're actually going to set it up so it's lowercase, uppercase, lowercase. And for some reason it seems like my computer keeps auto-fixing it, but it looks like it's set up now. So we're going to go lower, upper, lower with a 3, and we're going to start with the 3L left. And we're doing the stones options first. So that's going to set up my design. You'll see how the S and the M is perfect. So then our second one, we'll just select our M here. Then find our right, 3L right, and just change the right-hand side. Right. So same thing with the vinyl. I can do a copy, paste. So Control V, Control C, Control V. That's going to make a copy right on top. I'm going to switch it to the 3L left vinyl. So right here, vinyl 3L left. Now it's still going to give me that M that goes the opposite direction. So same thing we did with the rhinestone. We just highlight that one M. Switch it to the right. This time we want to make sure it's the vector one. And that sets up really nicely there. We'll go ahead and change the color, move it to the back, and now that sets up really nicely in there. Alright. So now someone was asking about the 4 color. So let's see this one. So it looks like we're going to go lower, upper, upper, and then most likely lower again. So I actually haven't used this one yet, so let's go ahead and we'll switch these two to the right. And that will fit in perfectly just like that. And now, so we're going to do a Control C, Control V. Oh yeah, so the boundary, sorry, the boundary you're just going to hold the exclamation before. So let's go ahead and retype this. So if I'm going to go in front of my S, and if I hold Shift and hit the number 1, it will throw that nice circle around our design too. Yes, Kathleen, we still we do carry the removable wall vinyl. So just like that, I'll make a Control C to make a copy, Control V. Go ahead and switch that to the vector 4. We're going to start with the left, and then our last two characters, all we're going to do is switch those to the right 4. And that'll fit in there really nicely. Move that to the back. And then I have my design. So is this the alignment problem you guys said you were having a little bit of? Okay. Yeah, I see that. I'll let him know with the 4 that it's kind of setting up a little bit off when it does that. Is this what you guys, I know someone was mentioning the 4 earlier. Is this what you were seeing the problem with? Okay. All right, no problem. I'll let him know about that tomorrow, and we'll get that fixed up. But technically, we might be able to move it around a bit manually. In the meantime, what we could do, obviously this isn't how it's supposed to work. If we did the B for breaking apart, it should let us control more of the individual letters, so I can move each letter individually. So I can move the S, maybe the M a little bit to the right this way, maybe this M a little bit to the left, and then this S a little bit to the right. So if you do hit the B, it'll break all those apart, and then you could move them manually in the meantime. But yeah, we'll figure that out and get that reset up. But if you're having trouble lining it up right now, like I just said, just break it all apart, and then you can move them around a lot easier and have those line up. All right, so let's go ahead and make a couple designs now. And because after my webinar, Matt's going to go straight to a Facebook Live. So anyone that's here and wants to see Matt, and actually, if someone was asking earlier about the rhinestones on the vinyl, we'll be showing you a little bit of that too. So we got, I know a new mini rhinestone decal pack is releasing, kind of how we set those up earlier this week. So I know he's going to go over one of those. So right after this, Matt is going to go right into a Facebook Live at 9:30. So we got about 15 minutes, so we'll cover these two designs, and any questions we have, we'll cover those as well. So with our first design, we're just going to write out the word cougars. And I'm going to use my basketball. And we're going to do the KO laces. All right. So this is a 2-color font. So we're going to kind of go over some of those first features we covered. And now we're going to make a design using kind of the tools on our font tab. So first thing here, this is a 2-color design. So let's go ahead and add that second color. So I hit the 2. And it's going to autofill our design just like that. Now I want to kind of be able to manipulate the design however I want. So I'm going to break apart my text. So that's going to be the B. And again, now I can go ahead and move my letters around if needed. And I'm actually going to go ahead and just delete my O out. And I'm going to bring up my Cougars head, and I'm going to make it kind of pop right out through here. And this is from our new mascot pack. This is from the mini pack volume 5. This is one of our Cougars, and it has it kind of breaking out just like that. And we'll go ahead and set it up to whatever color we want. So let's say we got a school that are the Cougars by us that kind of have this burgundy look. So we'll make them go ahead and keep with that and do more of like a burgundy and gray. So we just have our Cougars up top. So obviously with our basketball text, and I'm going to need that later, so I'll just move that away. With our basketball, we're just going to write basketball underneath it because we already have the basketball laces kind of going through here. So this will be set up just for the basketball. I can't type, obviously. But if I did this in like an athletic font, instead of the basketball laces going through and had the Cougars, then I could change this basketball to any sport or athletics or just a Cougar's design in general. So now we'll just select our basketball. We'll use our Rockstar 11. So here you see this is actually a 2-color font, and it's going to lay right on top. So it actually has the whole backing behind it. So when you look at the upper, it's all just kind of filled in. I don't want to use the upper in this design. I don't want a 2-color, so I'm just going to leave it just like that and just kind of reshape it, make it a little bit smaller, use my text spacing tool to kind of space this out around the bottom. Go ahead and make it that burgundy to match. Make a quick copy and kind of layer it just to get that 2-color look just like that. So just in a couple minutes, we are able to make a unique design, just using some of our TRW fonts. So just like that, we're done with our first design. But again, yeah, with this, someone was asking with the Cougar here, I could make this background gray to match too, or let's make that red. So I could have it set up like that too, or I could even completely remove that background, and then when it's ready to edit, I could use my magic boundary, 0.0, maybe 4, and go ahead and crop that out. And let's not do a contour. All right, so any questions on our first design? The Cougar actually had, someone asked how I filled the Cougar so fast. It actually had like a backing on it, so you can see this white right here. It's got a layer already behind it. So when you saw that quick fill of it turning like gray like that, that's because that layer is already actually there. It's just white. So I just clicked on that layer and changed it to the gray. The pack for that the Cougar had was the mascot, the new mascot packs. It's mini pack volume 5 had the Cougar. So our next design, we got some flip-flops that I brought in earlier from a different pack. But again, we're just going to use some basic Rhinestone fonts. And so we're going to do an eye up here. And we're going to use our TRW Athletic too. Now again, I could sit here and use this as a 2-color design, but I'm just going to use it as a 1. So I'm just going to take my inside fill. I don't have to use both sides of it or the entire design. Go ahead and resize this. Almost already perfectly set up. And sometimes you'll do that. So if your design doesn't move or change size, you might have just already sized it to the perfect size. But to make sure, you can always just click on one stone and make sure these numbers up here match whatever stone size you have right there. Okay. So we'll set that up, and underneath we'll just write out summer. We'll make it all uppercase. And again, we'll size that to 10s, hit yes. And now I have kind of my I Heart Summer design, with the heart being more of our flip-flops. All right, so now we can take this design a little, kind of a step further, and we're going to use, if I left click and hold the pick tool, underneath it you'll see this freehand pick. Has anyone ever used a freehand pick tool? Okay, well, when we're working with rhinestones, this tool might come in handy quite a bit. So what it allows you to do is when you left click and hold, it will I can grab different shapes of whatever I want. So instead of just having the regular pick, where it's just kind of that rectangle or square shape, I can do a freehand and grab just a circle if I wanted to. So if I just needed a certain section of these stones, I could come in here and grab just those stones, or even if it's different objects. I don't know how I lost that stone in summer. I might have grabbed it. There it goes. Okay. But yeah, so the freehand tool is nice because now it gives us opportunities to, select, just kind of grab certain stones or not all the stones. But now I can come right through this summer design and just pretend I'm kind of making waves through it. Come back around, and it will just select those stones. So now I can turn those ones blue and select all my black ones, make those kind of maybe like a sunset color or sun color, and then even our stones here, go ahead and make that our yellow. And now I have, just off of a basic font, now I have a really unique, looking design. It looks really cool. It looks like this was a custom font. So when you have fonts like this, you can easily make them a two-color font, a camouflage font. So if I had a design like this, maybe just Army, and let's use that two-color, and let's say we just wanted to fill. Go ahead and size that up, hit yes. I could come in here with my freehand pick tool, just kind of make a lot of weird shapes. Turn that green, make some different shapes in here, turn that brown, and so on, and kind of go through my design and do all these different patterns, and again, just rotate it. You could get a little bit more kind of a system down or a pattern down so each one looks the same, or you can literally just kind of go through it like this and make this green, and maybe this part just has that section brown, maybe up top here too. So then we're going through our entire design and just creating a new look to it. Let's get some different, little brown through there, and a little bit more green through here. And then maybe I could turn all my black to crystal, and I'll go back to my pick tool, put it on a black background. And it's not perfect, but now I have just based off of basic font, I have a new Army design that I could work with. So someone asked, can you do that with vinyl? Yes and no. So let's say we had vinyl, and I had the word summer, and we'll just use like a basic impact font for this. So what I would do actually with my vinyl, someone asked real quick, how do you make fonts? How do you make them look glittery on the mockups? I can't find that button. So if you have, well, I'll do it with this summer when I'm done with it, and I'll show you how to do that. So first off, if I have this summer, instead of using the freehand, we're going to use the Spline tool. And again, I would just kind of come through here and create my wave look. Now here, this line would be the separator, and then I would just come with my Smart Fill tool and then fill this bottom half one color. Just change it to a different color real quick. It doesn't matter right now. We're going to change it all anyways. Oh, did I miss it? Yep. Something's going on with that U. It should, using the Smart Fill, it should allow it, it shouldn't be going out of this area. But what we could do too is just, once we had it set up, yeah, actually it'd probably be easier just once we had it set up like this, is now since we have that magic boundary tool, I would just highlight this bottom part, weld it all together, magic boundary, and then it'll separate that for me, take that top half, and make it whatever color I wanted. So just like that, now we have our summer look. All right, so now let's say I wanted to put this on a mock-up or use my glitter colors for mock-ups. So all you have to do is, let's say I put this on a background. They want this like a glitter, so I'm going to click my arrow here, go to Magic Glitter, and we don't have exactly like a yellow, so maybe I could use a gold for the top, and then whatever color blue I felt looked the best for the water. So maybe something like that. So just like that, you have your glitter colors, and you would just show your customer just like that. All right. You don't want to save anything in these specialty colors. So you can save in the Easy Weed HTV. That's going to be the flat, that's going to be what's always pulled up anyways. You can use those and save. But if I'm showing my customer this in a glitter color, it's just to kind of show them what it's going to look like in glitter. You don't want to save it that way. All right, so that pretty much ends our webinar for tonight. Do you guys have any other questions I can help you with before we end? All right, so I do have a code for you guys tonight too. So tonight we're going to get 65% off any font or font pack, and it'll be font-65. So any of the fonts we cover tonight, any Rhinestone, any Vector, anything like that, font 65 will get you guys the 65% off those codes. All right. So right now, again tonight, thank you guys so much for the comments. I really appreciate all those coming in. Right after this, check out our Facebook page. Matt's going live, and literally pretty much when I get off, he's probably already going to be started. So check that out tonight too. With those lives, he's always giving away freebies and another probably coupon code for you guys tonight too. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much. You guys have, it's Wednesday, but you guys have a great weekend if I don't talk to you guys before then. Getting started, check out some of our basic or kind of overview webinars, Teresa. Those are on our YouTube page too. Those will definitely, like the basic features of the Design Wizard, those are great ways to get started. All right, thank you guys so much. Make sure you check out our Facebook page and check out Matt going over our new designs and releases tonight. All right, you guys have a great night.